In today's business and financial news, let's discuss debt, specifically student loan debt. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. So in October, we go rogue and talk about scary stories. And something that is very scary or can be scary is debt. I guess it depends on the amount of debt and what type of debt.
Okay, payments are starting up. What are you going to do? The top one is I've already got the income to pay for it. I've been planning for it. That's roughly 22% of the population. The second one is I'm going to have to cut back a little bit to pay for it, cut back on entertainment. And that's another like 22%. So not a big deal. Those top two tiers can definitely make payments. And then we start to get into, okay, I've got to pull back on retirement contributions. I need to stop retirement contributions. And along with these, you'll notice we've got average income right here, along with what's their average student loan debt. And when you get to the bottom, it gets pretty severe. So the bottom one, I don't plan on paying my student loans. They're basically saying I plan on defaulting. This is only 6% of the population, but the big thing is the average income. So they're going to make or are making roughly 35 grand, and they've got to come up with $59,000 for their student loan debt.
According to Forbes, the average student loan balance for those under the age of 24 is $14,000. For those between the ages of 25 and 34, the average balance jumps up to $33,000. For those between the ages of 35 and 49, it jumps up to $44,000. It takes a slight jump up from the ages of 50 to 61 up to $48,000. And for those 62 and older, it actually peaks at $49,000.
But recently, Business Insider highlighted a story that they entitled, Business Insider always has the longest titles. Anyways, it's entitled, A Millennial with a PhD and over $250,000 in student loan debt says she's been looking for a job for 4 years. She wishes she prioritized work experience over education. $250,000 in student loan debt. Now, for many people, or for some people, $250,000 could be a mortgage, depending on where you live in the country. In some places, $250,000 would just be your down payment. But for many parts of the US, you could find, let's say, a condo or maybe a small home for $250,000. It wouldn't be necessarily the best, maybe top of the line,
No,
most
ma'am.
appliances, but
No,
you
ma'am.
could probably find a decent property
No, ma'am.
in some cities. And
No, ma'am.
definitely in smaller towns and suburbs in the US for $250,000. Might be a fixer-upper, but you could work with it.
What does it cost to own an average home in America with today's housing prices? Well, let's break down the cash you'll need up front and what it will cost monthly. So the average home in America right now is around $430,000. Let's say you put down 5%. That's going to be about $20,000. Then you have closing costs. This is typically 3 to 4% of the sales price. But in today's market, you can probably negotiate with the seller in some cases to get a little of that taken off. So let's just say $10,000 in closing costs, making it $30,000 total up front to get into the house.
But $250,000 in student loan debt, that's a lot. So the woman in the story, let's call her Ashley. For the story, they said that she wanted to remain partially anonymous, so she just gave her first initial and her last name. I don't know about this partially anonymous thing in today's world where we have so many ways that you can find out who someone is, and her last name is a little bit unique. Anyways, we're going to call her Ashley. The bullet points for the article are, a millennial with a PhD and more than $250,000 in student loan debt says she can't find a job. She's looking for business roles while working as a nurse to help pay the bills. So that shows some flexibility if she's looking for business roles, but she's also working in the nursing and healthcare industry. That's pretty admirable. It means you can think in a variety of different ways. It says she wishes she prioritized work experience over her graduate degrees. Some people seem to get really comfortable when it comes to academia and being in school for extended amounts of time, and it might be easy to live off student loans while you're a student, but understand that you basically have to pay that back. And I know that there's some outs, and sometimes there's the government forgiveness and ways that you can work at certain companies where they'll help you pay, or you work for certain companies and then your debt will be forgiven after several years. But ultimately, you have to pay it back, right? You got to find some way to pay this back. Let's continue with the article. Over the past decade, Ashley has placed a great deal of value on higher education, and she's now come to regret it. I wonder what she means by a great deal of value on higher education. Really, school should just be the means to an end. You're trying to get the skills and the qualifications, the education in order to move on to the next stage, right? It's not like a place where you just go and stay for forever. Let's continue. Ashley earned a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree in business management from St. Leo University in Florida. Have you heard of St. Leo University? I have not, but that might not mean a whole lot. But 3 degrees from one school. So whenever I hear that, I think you must have really enjoyed that school and that experience. 3 degrees: bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. This is a lot. However, she says she struggled to find a job in her field of study over the past 4 years. She got multiple degrees in business management. I don't think that's necessarily necessary, right? And some people argue even today that getting an MBA isn't necessary. In today's economy, it takes a lot to make that argument to stop working or to go back and spend $100,000 plus on any advanced degree. It's just a commitment that if you make, you just understand that it's a lot for many people, it's a lot to pay off. Back to the article. It says, however, she struggled to find a job in her field of study over the past 4 years. She also has more than $250,000 in student loan debt, according to a document viewed by Business Insider. I guess Business Insider had to check to make sure that she wasn't making up $250,000. They quote her saying, "I graduated with my PhD in 2020 and can't find a job to save my life," the 38-year-old who lives in Virginia told Business Insider via email. She asked for partial anonymity, using only the first initial of her first name and her last name because of privacy concerns. Again, I don't know why she used her full last name because it is kind of a unique last name, but again, we're just calling her Ashley. Since earning her PhD, Ashley has applied for various business management roles but had little success. She said she's been forced to expand her job search and explore a new career in nursing to help her make ends meet. Again, we applaud Ashley for trying something new. She's tried to be in business for several years. It hasn't worked out, and she's getting experience in nursing. And so she still has income, so that's good. She says, "I thought education was the road to financial freedom, but I was wrong." She wasn't wrong. Maybe it's just too much education and too much in student loans. At some point, you've got to practice what you've learned, and maybe getting that extra PhD or even the MBA might have been a bit excessive. And that's why it's usually a good idea to take a break in between your undergrad and your master's, even in business, to get some work experience, to understand what you like about working in business, what you don't like, and what you can just stand. And then you have more of an idea on whether an MBA or additional degrees are worth it, or if you want to just continue in business with the degree you have, or maybe you want to pivot into something else. Experience really is helpful, especially before pursuing an advanced degree. Ashley is among the Americans who are having a tough time finding work. In part, it's because businesses across the U.S. have significantly scaled back on hiring over the past 2 years. We're in 2024 now, since 2022. And it seems like from 2020 to 2022, in that time period, those approximate 2 years, those were more years where it was an employee market, where it was easier for people to find jobs because some people were hesitant about going back to work and working in the office during the time of the Great Sickness. But over the last 2 years, the tides have somewhat turned, and it's more of an employer's market. So employers have a lot more options. There's more potential employees out there looking for jobs. So in today's time, it seems as if it is much more difficult for individuals to find their roles or find the jobs that they really want.
Why are all of these places hiring, but won't hire?
I was laid off, unemployed for 6 months, applied for over 2,000 jobs, and now that I've worked as a recruiter, I can tell you why it's like this. You know how when you're looking for jobs, if you don't meet all the requirements, they're like, oh, apply anyways. This is an employer-led market right now, and that is not the case. I am someone who fervently believes that job experience is way more valuable than a 4-year degree, and you don't need one to succeed. Unless you're like a doctor or a lawyer, you get what I'm saying. But now that I've been a recruiter, when I'm searching for a candidate, they want someone to check every single box. If you are 6 months less of experience, they won't take you. They want someone who can do 10 consecutive backflips and their mother's name has to be Mary. It gets so nitty-gritty and specific. And they can do that because they control the market right now. I've seen videos of people applying for jobs that are the same exact thing they've been doing for half the salary. They can do that because they control the market right now. I just want to let you know, if you are in the thick of applying for jobs, if you've been affected by layoffs and you are not getting a response from employers, it is not your fault. It's because the market's crap. And while I know it won't pay your bills, I am proud of you. I see you. I know you're doing your best, and I hope things turn around for you soon. Bye.
The article continues. It says Ashley is among the Americans who are having a tough time finding work. In part, it's because businesses across the U.S. have significantly scaled back on hiring over the past 2 years. The ratio of job openings to unemployed people, an indicator of job availability, has declined considerably. They don't they haven't given us any specific number so far, so let's see if those are provided as we continue into this article. While the unemployment rate and layoff rate remain low compared with historical levels, the hiring slowdown means that many job seekers are having a considerably harder time than they were a few years ago. Ashley shared why she thinks her job search has been so challenging, how she made her career pivot, and her top piece of advice for people pursuing higher education. It continues into a section of the article that says most organizations prefer experience over education. After receiving her doctorate degree, so remember that's her third degree, Ashley's initial goal was to land an adjunct professor position. So that makes sense why she went for her doctorate if she wants to teach business. However, after speaking with people in the education field, she decided to change course. Seems like she would have wanted to speak to those people before she got her doctorate. It doesn't necessarily say when she was speaking to those people. Maybe it says as we continue into the article. It's quoted, "I've learned how difficult it is to get started in the field," she said. "Essentially, after earning a PhD, I would have to go back to school to take more courses to support a teaching career. No, we aren't going to be doing that. If you get the PhD, it's time to start teaching. We don't have time to go back and take more courses. That's a lot." She said she was told she'd specifically need more education-related credits. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. As a result, Ashley said she's decided to give up on teaching and focus on finding other roles in her area of study, business management. What other roles? Just okay, let's keep going. But her job search has been challenging. Ashley said she hasn't landed many interviews, and when she has and has been turned down, she's had a hard time figuring out what went wrong. She said that she's expanded her job search to non-managerial bookkeeping, accounting, tutoring, and human resource roles, but that she hasn't had much luck with these either. Okay. Ashley thinks the biggest obstacle in her job search is her lack of work experience. While pursuing her degree, she's gained some entry-level work experience in banking, human resources, and bookkeeping roles. However, she said this experience might be insufficient in the eyes of employers. "I'm overqualified for most entry-level positions, but I'm underqualified for management or leadership roles," she said. "Ultimately, my degree has been both a blessing and a curse." Then it gets into, oh my goodness, this article goes on and on. I don't know if we want to go through all of this. This is a lot. Okay, it says her top piece of advice for people who pursue higher education is to do your homework. She said she wishes she spent more time evaluating her school's job placement programs, internship partnerships, and the employment rates of recent graduates across different fields before she pursued her degree. There's not really an excuse why she wouldn't have done that because, again, she got her 3 degrees at the same school, so she should have been very familiar with all of those concerning her school, especially as she went and got her MBA and her PhD. She also recommended taking time to think about the value of the college degree and the best ways to use it to land a job. "I learned most organizations prefer experience over education," she said. "Had I known that, I would not have spent so many years in college." But you didn't spend so many years in college. You got your college degree and then you went back for a master's and you went back for a PhD. It continues into her nursing experience, so this is a good thing. Nursing is helping to pay the bills during her job search. Ashley said that in recent years she'd worked various part-time jobs to pay the bills. "It feels next to impossible to work a single job and earn enough money to cover essentials like rent, fuel, electricity in the state of Virginia," she said. One analysis found Virginia was the 13th most expensive state when it comes to the overall cost of living. She says she's completed a training program to work remotely for TurboTax as a tax expert. All right, we're going to skip through some of this. She says, I'm new to nursing, but I find it rewarding and I like the shift flexibility. Another reason is that she doesn't think she's paid particularly well. She said that she's earning $21.50 an hour. In 2023, the median pay for a registered nurse in the US was about $41 an hour. Despite the long hours, she said the low pay is why she doesn't view nursing as a full-time job. But she will get more pay as she gets more experience, and there's plenty of nurses that work full-time and even travel nurses who do rather well. So again, I've skipped a little bit in this article. She says it doesn't come with full-time pay. Maybe right now she doesn't get what she considers full-time pay, but with more experience she likely will. The article continues, Ashley said that in recent months she's begun focusing more on looking at remote roles, such as the TurboTax opportunity. She said working remotely could make it easier to keep her nursing job, reducing her commuting costs. Over the past month, Ashley finally had some luck on the job market. Good. She said she landed a remote plan consultant position in the nursing field that pays about $70,000 a year, equivalent to an hourly rate of more than $30 an hour. While she views this as a positive development, she said she's absolutely continuing searching for higher paying roles in her field of study. The article ends on a positive note. She's found a role in nursing that pays her more than what she had been receiving in nursing, and she's still trying to find her place in the business role as well. What do you think about that? $250,000 in student loan debt. We do wish Ashley the best. You can weigh in the comments. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.